Skill-based matchmaking has ruined Call of Duty, and for the first time ever, it seems like everyone agrees they're fed up.
Why the fuck would you have skill-based in a public game?
Please stop alienating the people that have been playing your game for over a decade.
Every single game feels like you're playing for $1 million.
There's no reason for SBMM to be in casual.
Honestly, it gets really exhausting.
This is not an enjoyable experience.
Myself and many of you guys have so many fond memories of just partying up with your mates, no matter their individual skill, jumping into some public matches with a completely random set of players to talk some trash, try out some different gun builds, and in general just have fun. Instead, these days, if you're an even slightly above average player, you're forced to use meta weapons all the time, you have your lobbies balanced against you, and you're pretty much never allowed to have any unique, interesting experiences game to game. Like, everyone's bored because nothing's left to chance anymore. Every bit of matchmaking is just optimized to manipulate your engagement with the game, and it sucks. Now, in the peak of Warzone 1, along came gaming VPNs, which were apparently a way that you could break skill-based matchmaking or get bot lobbies, and in general, people tended to shun away the idea of ever using one. But very recently, the community's overall attitude to the usage of VPNs has completely changed. So the other day, I took a leap of faith and decided to come completely out in the open about my usage of VPNs since the release of Modern Warfare 3 to try and enjoy the game more. I was fully ready for about half the replies to be people calling me a cheater, calling me unethical, and in general just being upset at what I was saying. But that didn't happen. I would say 80 to 90% of the response was incredibly positive, supporting the usage of a VPN with how bad SBMM has got, and also asking how to best utilize the VPN to hopefully get a better experience playing the game. But there were still a ton of people who claim that VPNs don't do anything. It's all snake oil, all false advertising. And that brings us to today's video, where I'm going to show you guys how you can utilize the most functional and best priced VPN that you can use right now with Modern Warfare 3 and Warzone in the future, SBMMOFF. I am going to be completely transparent and explain everything. I'll show you how you can set up the VPN for the most consistent results. I'll explain how it works. I will also show you guys my full test methodology and results that prove how well the VPN can improve your game's quality and overall variance game to game that just makes the experience so much more fun. But first, I'm going to clarify what you should be expecting from a VPN, because most people's expectations from what they hear online are completely false. VPNs do not give you bot lobbies like many seem to claim. That is not what most people, including myself, complain about when it comes to skill-based matchmaking. We just want some variance, something a little different from game to game, rather than every game being forced 24/7 tryharding to just play. So if you do want to get your hands on the SBMMOFF VPN that I will be using today, there'll be a link in the description that will take you to their website. SBMMOFF doesn't just give you a VPN, you also get a geofence, you get DNS switching, as well as loads more great functionality. And on top of that, a Discord community full of a ton of people posting results from their testing, as well as general support on how to best use the application. It is a paid product, $50, upfront payment, no subscription model. You just pay for it and you keep it. I do also have a discount code, FourEyes4, that you can use at checkout and it will get you $4 off. So that brings it down to $46. I completely understand that for a lot of people it might not seem worth it. Hopefully when you see the results later in the video, you will see it is. And we can also just compare it to the other competitors in the market. No Lag VPN, for example, £6.50 for 6 months. So if you're looking at a year, you're looking at least 60 quid. Pricing of Sweat VPN, 3 months, $35. Not worth it. Botlobbies.com, £38.40. Doesn't sound too bad, but that's only for 1 year. You're still paying for a subscription model. So when the year's up, you're paying another 38 quid. The one-time upfront payment that's on offer here is the best value you are going to get for this kind of VPN. So what I'll do now is I'll take you through how to set up the VPN to actually work inside of game. I'll show you all the features that are on offer, and then I'll also show you the best setup that I personally use day to day for a much better experience inside of the game. When you first launch the application and put in your login details, you'll be greeted with this page, which is the main VPN page. You've got a big drop down here of all of the servers that are available to connect to. On the right, you can see all of those servers listed with the current time of day at each of those servers. This is going to be very important when it comes to selecting which server we want to use in game. The The thing that confuses a lot of people about these VPNs is that they expect that this will give them really high ping like a traditional VPN would, where you're actually rerouting your entire network through a server on the other side of the world. When you're selecting a server in these kind of VPNs, you are only rerouting a small bit of your network traffic that's related to how the matchmaking algorithm actually works. The game will think your profile is in somewhere like Colombia, and then when it struggles to actually matchmake you via SBMM without going to crazy amounts of ping, you'll default back to actual local servers with really good ping and pretty much randomized lobbies with very little skill-based matchmaking. Once again, these lobbies will not be bot lobbies. They will just be randomized, they will be varied, you'll come across all sorts, exactly like the game used to feel when we played in the good old days. And then below that, you've got the unique feature of being able to control your NAT type between open and strict, which also plays into what lobbies you can potentially get into in-game. And you've also got the two buttons to connect to the selected VPN and also to select your geofence. What the geofence does is actually lock down what servers you can potentially connect to. For example, I'm in the UK. If I select Netherlands, I will only get Dutch servers. I will not connect to any local UK servers whatsoever, even if they are closer. Traditionally, people have used geofences or geofilters as they're called on routers like NetDoomers to significantly reduce their ping because the game doesn't try and shove them in a server across the pond just to give them a bit more skill-based matchmaking. To use the geofence, you need to come down and select the game exe down here. You just click the button next to the file path, select OK, and then you just need to navigate to the Call of Duty HQ folder. If you're doing this for Modern Warfare 3 or Warzone as well, when Season 1 comes out and it gets merged in with Modern Warfare 3, you just want to scroll down to cod.exe. That's the exe you want for that game. If you're using this for Modern Warfare 2 or for Warzone 2 as it currently stands being merged with that game, you instead need to go into the COD22 folder, scroll down and select COD22-COD. exe. For me, I'm using this on Modern Warfare 3, so I select COD exe. And then it says game exe location saved. Okay, so now what you've all been waiting for. How do I set this up for best results? I'll show you. First thing I recommend you do is come down to the geofence, make sure you've got your game exe selected as I showed you, and then you need to select the closest servers to where you are based. Luckily, I'm in the UK, so I just select UK here. Click OK. It says applying settings. So there we go, connected to the United Kingdom. Settings for United Kingdom applied. You can now close this page and start your game. By enforcing that geofence in a location close to you, you're going to be ensuring that you're getting decent ping, hopefully, and also just restricting the amount of servers you could potentially connect to, which is going to make skill-based matchmaking much, much harder. So after this shows us connected, you can close the geofence and we can look at the VPN. So which server should you connect to? There's a ton of them, as you can see over here. Well, luckily, as I mentioned, we have these time values which show you the local time at each of these locations. General rule of thumb that has come out from a lot of discussions and testing in the Discord community is you want to pick a server where it's an irregular time in the night. Ideally between 1 AM and 6 AM seems to be a good roundabout value to look for. So I'm going to look around over here. I may as well untick Europe because they're all going to be a very similar time zone to me. And one of the ones that stands out to me is Philippines. It's 2:27 in the morning over there. And this is actually the VPN server I have been connected to. That might not be the best one for you. If you're based in the USA and are at a completely different time zone, you might find there's somewhere else on here where the time matches up better in that 1 AM to 6 AM region. For me though, I can come over to select server, scroll down to Philippines, have that selected. I've been running with open rather than strict. Some people say they get better results on strict. Some people say they get better results on open. I've just been using open and it's been working fine. And then I can click connect. It will come up with a bunch of stuff in the box down here showing that it's verifying certification, it's getting your VPN tunnel connecting, and eventually says you are now connected to wherever you're connected to. For me, that's Philippines. Now start your game. And up here, VPN status shows as Philippines connected and geofence shows United Kingdom activated. And that's literally the setup, guys. You can now go in game. That's what I'm going to do now. And I'll show you that it will say that we're connected to the Philippines. When you load up the game, if you want to check that the VPN's working correctly, you just want to go to your settings menu, click on account and network, and then click network info. and you'll see geographical region should not be where you actually are. As you can see, it says Manila, which is in the Philippines, which means the VPN's working. At this point, you're ready to go and play. You can literally just search for a match. You shouldn't have long waiting times. If you've had to geofence somewhere a little bit further from you because there wasn't a really local server, it might take an extra minute, but you should be getting better matches. You can also still play with a group of friends. You just need to make sure that you, being the one with the VPN, is the host when you search for the lobbies. It has been seen that having more people with the VPN in your party can make the effects of it even greater, but my testing today isn't going to cover that, so I'm just going to say get the host to have it and no one else really needs it. So the last bit of this video is the testing and essentially the proof that everything I'm saying actually works. Now, if we still had access to the stats API like we used to back in Warzone 1, this would be really easy because I could just look at average lobby KDs and all that kind of stuff and basically just give you an instant concrete result. But unsurprisingly, the devs have completely removed access to that API. So all we're left with is scoreboards. So here's what I did. I played 14 games in a session. 7 of those were utilizing the VPN as I've shown you how to set it up in this video with Philippines and geofence to the UK. And then 7 were completely vanilla, VPN completely shut down. I also made sure to alternate as I went along. So I did 2 games vanilla, 2 games VPN, then 3 games vanilla, 3 games VPN, and then actually for the last session, I did 2 games VPN and then 2 games vanilla. That gives you your 7 games on either side. All in one session, so we're not messing around with time zones, should give pretty consistent results. As I finished each game, I took the data from the scoreboards and transferred that over into a datasheet to actually start playing around with the numbers. To add some legitimacy, here's the match history. We played Skid Row and Subbase, then Skid Row and Invasion. That was Vanilla, Vanilla, VPN, VPN. Then we got Estate, Skid Row again, Favela, all VPN. Then High Rise, Underpass, and Rust, all VPN. And then finally Terminal and then High Rise, VPN. And then exactly the same, Terminal and High Rise, Vanilla. This is some extra footage showing me actually coming out of the game after my Subbase game, loading up the VPN, connecting, then jumping back in game to queue up into Skid Row. I also made sure that every single game I remained playing at a constant effort. I was using the same gun build every game as well, just to add a bit more consistency and legitimacy to the results. So this is where the results begin. You can see here, down the left is all of the games we played with the map on the right and whether we used the VPN or whether it was a vanilla game, i.e. no VPN. Then to the right of that, you've got the kills that every player on the losing team got on the final scoreboard, as well as further on the right, you've got the kills that everyone on the winning team got. So we've split them out as well. You will notice there are some gaps at the end of some of these lines. For example, this Favela game, by the end of it, there was only 4 people on each team. Unfortunate, but that's just sometimes how it goes. My main goal now was to take each of these games for the winning and the losing team and determine how much variance amongst the team are there in terms of skill. If there's strict skill-based matchmaking in place in that lobby, then the end result of kills should be pretty even across the board. And vice versa, when you're using the VPN, there'll be a much wider range of kills. Not one team with no kills and one team absolutely stomping, but just a good range across both teams. That's what a good COD lobby should look like. That's a lobby where you can potentially pop off and be that guy at the top of the leaderboard, or you could underperform and potentially be at the bottom, rather than just everyone being exactly the same. The last thing I wanted to do before I ran any calculations on this was clear out any of the anomaly values. I wanted to focus heavily on the bulk of the lobby, not including potentially players who joined the game late and so therefore just had way less kills than anyone else, and also not including a player specific on one of the teams who just happened to have a crazy good game. I'm trying to focus on the bulk of the player base in that lobby. So what I did is I went through each game for each team and decided which value of kills on the team is the anomaly for this game. An example, this VPN game on High Rise, player 5 got 6 kills. I know that he joined the game late, so it's not a fair bit of data to have in the calculation, so we just removed it. I went through each team in every game, removed that anomalous value, and then calculated the standard deviation of the remaining numbers in the set. In mathematic terms, the standard deviation of a set of numbers determines how varied those numbers are. Once again, if there's a lot of skill-based matchmaking happening in the lobby, your standard deviation should be low because your variance is low. In a VPN lobby, where there's much less skill-based matchmaking, that variance should be higher. And so with all the calculations done, the table can then be simplified down to just the map, and then the standard deviation of the kills on the losing team and the winning team. I've also gone and color-coded all the vanilla games as yellow games, and all the VPN games as blue games. And then what I can simply do is right-click on the column, sort A to Z, and it will sort it by least variant to most variance. And you can already start to see the trend. This is on the losing team, and pretty much all of the upper variance games are all VPN games. There's this one sub-base game that sneaks through. There's also a couple of the VPN games that are actually kind of low variance. We can do the same thing for the winning team as well. So let's sort A to Z over here. You still see a similar thing. There's a single vanilla game that creeps into the top 6, with a couple of the VPN games dropping down. As I've said, there is a certain amount of randomness to the VPN. Some of the games that you play might not feel like much has happened, but if you put in a lot of games, you will start to see the trend happening, and you'll start to feel these games being so much more varied and so much more fun. For a bit of extra proof of concept, I actually put all of the standard deviations into a single column, and then you can see over here I've added whether it was the losing team or the winning team, and we can run the same sort on the entire set of numbers. And it's so obvious to see just how much the VPN really brings variance and interestingness to the games you're playing. All these ones down here are just so unvaried, so boring, so monotonous, where everyone in the game is getting 1 kill, dying, 2 kills, die a couple of times, and that's the entire game. The games down here, some people are popping off, some people aren't having so good a game. This is just the world that the VPN brings you. There's variance, there's intrigue, there's excitement that you just don't get without it. So if I wanted to summarize this entire video, skill-based matchmaking is boring and it's ruining Call of Duty as we know it. There's such an outcry against it, and utilizing a VPN is exactly what you need to be able to reduce that amount of skill-based matchmaking and bring some variance back into your games. I've been playing with my group of friends of all different skill levels the entire week. We can actually all play together. The lower skill players don't get forced into my skill bracket every game. There's a good varied amount of people on both teams, and generally everyone has a good time. And lastly, I have proven with the data that this is not snake oil. This stuff works, and if you want to get involved, as I said, there is a link in the description below to SBMMOFF. Use my discount code at the checkout, FourEyes4. You can get $4 off, one-time purchase. Set it up like I told you to, and you should get some good results. If you do so, then let me know down in the comments. Any queries as well, you can message me on Twitter, you can DM me, you can leave a comment down below. I will try and answer as many questions as I can. We need to get rid of skill-based matchmaking because the developers ain't getting rid of it anytime soon. Anyway, guys, thanks very much for watching. I will see you guys in my next video.